welcome to Newfoundland and Labrador Studies 2205. This is Unit 2, The Roots of Our Culture. I'm Miss Fleming, and of course I'm here with you for this course. Section 6, Lesson 3 today, on Autonomy, Colonialism, and Confederation. The question of whether to remain independent or join with other British North American colonies was an issue from 1864 to 1949. In 1864, 2 Newfoundland delegates attended the Quebec Conference and signed the resolutions that became the British North American Act. Although they were in attendance, the Newfoundland government feared opposition to Confederation and declined to proceed. The Dominion of Canada was formed on July 1, 1867, containing present-day Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. The image below you may already be familiar with, as it is an image of that conference. Without talking about Confederation, we must also talk about colonialism. Colonialism is the domination of one group of people over another. The notion of colonialism actually goes back to 500 BCE, involving many nations and monarchies throughout history. British colonialism was the main driving force in European settlement throughout Turtle Island. The main sponsors were usually merchants, developing an extensive British trade network, which we have learned about from the residential fishery and the migratory fishery before that. Colonies, like Newfoundland, became essential to Britain's economic well-being. Just in case you need a refresher, a colony is a group of people who leave their nation to form a settlement connected to their parent nation. Even though Newfoundland desired autonomy, they still had to answer to Britain. In 1907, Newfoundland was granted Dominion status with a Prime Minister, and his name was Sir Robert Bond. Although Canada is an independent nation, due to the influence of British colonialism, the country is still connected to Great Britain and is part of the Commonwealth as an independent state. This image here on this slide, of course, is Queen Victoria, who was the Queen of England during this time period. Let's take a look at this in terms of a timeline. It might help us organize our thoughts a bit better. From 1864 to 1869, Confederation seems attractive due to economic difficulty, but Roman Catholic liberals and conservative merchants blocked the proceedings. In 1888, fearing trade with the U.S., Canada wishes to send Newfoundland delegates to Ottawa, but that didn't happen. In 1892, Newfoundland participates in the Halifax Conference, which is similar to the Quebec Conference, detailing issues with British North America and the newly formed Canada. In 1895, economic crisis and the bank crash of December 1894 raises Confederation discussion again, and a delegation actually goes to Ottawa at that time. In 1933, Newfoundland government virtually is bankrupt. Confederation is discussed again. Notice that there's these gaps in years where it's discussed, but things didn't really move forward. In 1946, there was a national convention organized to address Newfoundland's political future. And in 1948, a referendum is held with 3 options: Confederation with Canada, responsible government, or commission of government. Commission of government we'll talk about a little bit later. That received the least amount of votes, so that was dropped, and there was another referendum in 1949, and Newfoundland became part of Canada just before midnight on March 31st. We will talk about when Newfoundland and Labrador joined Canada a bit later in the course. So, of course, there were arguments for and against Confederation. The issue of Confederation was debated in the colony all throughout the 1860s. The Roman Catholic liberals feared loss of power over the school system, and conservative merchants feared increased taxation. The election of 1869 became almost completely about Confederation, and there was an anti-Confederate landslide victory. Pro-Confederates saw Confederation with Canada as a chance for improvements to public service and strengthening the economy. The man here on this slide is Charles Fox Bennett. He was very anti-Confederate at that time. While the man on this slide, which is Hugh Hoyles, he was the premier from 1861 to 1865, but he was very pro-Confederation. Not ready to give up independence, though, Newfoundland became the only British North American colony to try independent governance within the British Empire. This was until 1934, when the Commission of Government took place and Great Britain took back control of the Dominion of Newfoundland with an appointed government with the governor at its head. So very similarly to the way representative government worked in the Legislative Council, there was an appointed governor and people to act out issues of the government on behalf of the British Empire, which to anyone in Newfoundland and Labrador at the time was not an attractive option. Amongst great financial and political turmoil, Newfoundland and Labrador became Canada's 10th province in 1949. So now it's time to review. I'm going to ask you to complete the activities I have for you in Brightspace, and I hope that you have a great day.